Allen Hinton was an African-American man born in 1844 in North Carolina to two slave parents and was one of 15 children. He was later sold to William Ruffin Cox. While Cox was at war fighting for the Confederacy, Allen freed himself and arrived in Andover, Massachusetts in fall of 1864, where he worked as a waiter at Andover Theological Seminary. Allen married an African-American woman and Andover native, Mary Patterson, a widow with one son, Charles. The two moved into a large rented farmhouse with a barn on 104 Hinton Road in Andover, Massachusetts. At first, they started off selling snacks to Phillips Andover Academy students. In 1877, one of these students suggested to Allen that they sell ice cream. Mary had been working as a cook for Reverend Joseph Henry Thayer, a professor of theology at Andover Theological Seminary, and had learned how to make ice cream. Allen used his horse and a wagon and bought a 2-gallon freezer to transport the ice cream around, and the Hintons began the first ice cream selling business in New England. The Hintons had 2 children together, Edward, who not much is known about, and Alice, who would later take over the business. The Hintons were one of the few African-American families in Andover at the time, and Alice was the only African-American in her class at school. Alice graduated from the Punchard Free School in 1889. When she graduated, Alice wrote a letter to William Ruffin Cox, her father's former owner, informing him of her graduation. William Ruffin Cox responded to her. It's difficult to read his handwriting, but in the beginning the letter reads, "You may then easily anticipate my surprise in receiving a letter from Allen's daughter." His response can be viewed at the Andover Historical Society today. After graduation, Alice continued her studies at the New England Conservatory of Music, but then left shortly after to help her family with the ice cream business. One of Alice's earliest memories helping her father with the business was going with him to sell ice cream on the 4th of July. In a memoir she wrote later for the Andover Historical Society, Alice says, "Years ago, ice cream was a luxury, and July 4th the banner day for selling. After my elder brother went away, it was my duty and pleasure to go with father about Andover and North Andover to take orders for the 4th. The Hintons sold their ice cream at first by horse and wagon to the boys of Phillips Andover Academy and the townspeople of Andover. Then Allen Hinton expanded his business and would trek to Abbott Academy for young ladies 2 times a week, and then would go to the neighboring city of Lawrence, Massachusetts once a week. Allen Hinton then built a pavilion in their yard for people to come to the Hinton farm and buy ice cream there, and as Alice puts it in her memoir, it was in this pavilion that Allen Hinton made his money. Allen began to cater his ice cream for weddings and parties and advertise his services in the town directory. In an interview called Recollections of the Hinton Ice Cream Business, Miriam Putnam of the Andover Historical Society writes about one woman's experience. The Sweeney sisters came over to the ice cream pavilion by trolley and walked to Hinton Road. Miss Hinton would wait on them. They always asked what kinds of ice cream were available. The answer was invariably strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, and, with emphasis, tutti frutti. Miss Sweeney said it never occurred to them that the Hintons' race made any difference. In the same interview, another woman recalls, she said that you couldn't have a party in Andover without Allen Hinton's ice cream. An interesting sidelight was that he delivered the ice cream and at the same time collected the garbage, another venture in which he was involved. Hinton's ice cream was highly regarded by the students of Phillips Andover and Abbott Academy and is even mentioned in this history of the school. Such institutions as Hinton's and Chaps came to be a familiar and intrinsic part of Academy life. As far back as 1886, the Philippian printed a half-jocose attack on Allen Hinton for trying to raise the price of ice cream 5 cents a pint, and in 1887 it complained that he refused to advertise in school publications and even to pay admission to games. Hinton's popularity, however, survived these ephemeral attacks, and his farm off South Main Street continued to be a favorite gathering place for boys who, on hot spring nights, chose to risk the chance of a cut in order to get a plate of frozen pudding and to have a chat with Allen about the days before the war. Eventually, despite previous criticism, Allen would take out advertisements in the school's newspaper, the Philippian. In 1901, Allen was finally able to buy the farm that his family had been renting for so long. Alice writes in her memoir, "The ambition of my parents had been to own a home, and the farm was the wished-for place. Patiently did we wait for its possession. Finally, in 1901, Father was told it would be sold on June 24th. The auction was held at noon beneath the famous old elm. No dinner was eaten that day, for we were too anxious. heirs of the estate came to buy it, for they wanted it for a summer home. The auctioneer began by starting a $500 offer and called for a bid. The auctioneer called in vain for more bids, but the sight of the prosperous-looking strange evidently frightened the would-be buyers, and we soon heard, "Sold to Alan Hinton for $525. Each one of us realized with joy that at last we owned a home. Alan then built his ice cream house, as Alice refers to it, on the property. The business would later expand to also include a tea room for customers. When Alice's parents passed away, she was granted the farm at Hidden Road and took over the family business. She is even listed as head of the household in a town directory in 1920, and her occupation listed as ice cream maker. Alice was regarded as a successful businesswoman and was held in the highest regard by the community. Alice, along with her brother, kept the business alive and became known for catering local proms. Alice was invited to speak at the 16th Annual National Negro Business League in 1915 about her success by Booker T. Washington himself. Washington praised Alice and the Hinton family after her speech, saying, "It strikes me that Miss Hinton knows when she is doing well. Think of it, here is a brother and a sister who have taken up the business of their father and mother, have carried it along, and as proof of their ability, it has been on the increase instead of the decrease. The Hinton family deserve to be congratulated, for they have set a good example to our entire race."